Now, other documents, other techniques that are not part of the core, but maybe something that you heard about or that maybe people want, are something called a revocable living trust, right? A revocable living trust is something where it's a grantor trust, right? And the income is taxable to the grantor. So essentially, it's an alter ego. Everything runs under the Social Security number of the grantor for income tax purposes, right? It's flexible, as the name suggests, revocable, right? It can be revoked and amended during life at any time. There's continuity. So generally speaking, the grantor, the person who's writing this trust, is their own trustee during their lifetime, but then you name successors, right? So if the person becomes incapacitated, it's a seamless transition. If they're disabled, and then after their passing, it's a seamless transition. Everything keeps going. You don't have to go to probate. However, it does not provide you with any asset protection. It's essentially just a probate avoidance, and it's an alter ego to the person. Okay. Now, the content of this revocable living trust can have the same terms that we discussed in the will. Identifies who the family is, talks about tangible personal property, can talk about specific bequests, can talk about your residue, your takers of last resort. You can put in all those special provisions. You can even put other special provisions in there, depending upon the assets. Name your fiduciaries. You'll have your trustees here. And you could build in separate trusts. We'll get into those underneath different articles that we talked about, just like before: descendants trusts, credit shelter trusts, special needs trusts. These can all be built into it. Now, as I mentioned, you can avoid probate to the extent that assets are funded, and I'll get to that in a second. Why would you use this? These are great techniques when you have clients who maybe they're snowbirds and they have homes in New York and like Florida, or maybe they like to the north and they go to Massachusetts or Maine, and so basically they're to avoid probate in a multiple jurisdiction, you might retitle at least, the second state property into a revocable trust. So now you're avoiding probate in that second state. And maybe, you fund all your assets into it. So then you can avoid probate altogether.